It has to start in the trenches, and I think that that's a good thing going up against this Browns defense. I actually like the fact, I was kind of wondering why Flus didn't throw out the starters longer in game 2, but it really puts it into perspective where you are, right? If you've got Myles Garrett standing across from you, and you have to keep Justin Fields off his backside, I think that that's the biggest thing here. And this offensive line, for it to start to take steps in the right direction, you want to see what you have versus the competition on the field. And here's the thing, it's not going to be easy for you. You're still missing your starting center. You don't know what you have at right tackle. You don't know what you have at left tackle. If we're being 100% honest, we all feel good about Braxton Jones, but you still don't know if he is going to be that dominant left tackle that he's shown in this first couple of games and really in this first couple of drives. Again, it's about doing it repeatedly. It's about, can you do it? There's guys that can do it 10 plays. There's guys that can do it 12 plays. Can you do it 30? Can you do it 40? Can you do it 50? There's about 55 to 60 offensive plays a game. And the offensive line's out there for probably about 90% of them. Can you do it that many times? That's what you want to see out of Braxton Jones, right? And then on the flip side of that, is it going to be Larry Borum out there? Is it going to be Riley Reif? Is it going to be Michael Schofield? Is it going to be Tevin Jenkins, right? These are all questions. You're coming in with a completely new set of guys, with guys you feel are talented, but you're coming in with a completely new set of guys, and the guys that you have that are in a different position, they're playing a different position. Like, I'm sorry, the guys you had last year, they're playing a different position. So you come into this, right, essentially saying, we hope that this is going to be the right move. We hope that this is going to put us in the right direction. We hope that the Bears' offensive line is going to be better. But the fact that the Bears are focusing in on the trenches, I do like that. I do like the fact that they've gone out. I would have loved to see Lucas Patrick in a game like this, but unfortunately, the hope is that he'll be back by week 1. Haven't gotten an update on whether he will be back by week 1 or not. But I think the biggest thing is that you're going to get to see, and I love that Flus did this, like I said, you're going to get to see what this offensive line is in front of one of the best defensive lines in the NFL, in front of the best front sevens in the NFL. That's going to be huge when you're talking about protecting your quarterback, and it's going to be interesting to see how the coaches go on to protect their quarterbacks. It's not just about what the offensive line is going to do, right? Because when we watched the game last season, Jason Peters could play football still. It was old football, but he could still play football. The thing was, he was too old to keep up with Myles Garrett standing on the other side of him. So you got to be able to keep up with what's coming on the other side of you. And if you see that that guy can't keep up with what's happening on the other side of him, it's now on the coaches to go in there and scheme something up that better protects your quarterback. Does that mean 7-man protection? Does that mean moving the pocket around? Does that mean getting Justin outside of the pocket? Whatever that means, that's on the coaches to figure out. And that's the thing that we didn't see enough last season. That's the thing that we have to see continuing forward here for the Bears. And it's going to be interesting to see. Like I said, I'm excited that this is the game that the Bears got where they're really going to be going up against top competition, because you're going to get to see a lot of things put into place. You're going to get to see how this running game actually works against a front seven like that, right? Like the Bears weren't able to do anything last year versus the Cleveland Browns when you looked at that, right? The Bears weren't able to drop back and run the ball. Like, at least, right, if Justin's getting killed, you want to turn to the run. The Bears weren't able to run the ball last season. They weren't able to move the ball last season. So they end up going with the pass. Of course, the pass didn't work. Justin Fields ends up on his back, 4 times from Myles Garrett alone, and got 12 knockdowns in that game, I believe. So I think for me, right, that's going to be the biggest thing to see in this game versus the Browns. How does the coaching staff also help the players on the field? How do they help the run game? How's this offensive line going to do? Because they've run the ball pretty well for most of this preseason. How's it going to do against a front like that? And then how are the coaches going to help? How are the coaches going to set this lineup? Are we going to go? We've gone 7-man protection a couple of times. We've gone heavy or max protection a couple of times, right? How's that going to be able to hold up? Those are all questions that I think you're going to be able to get at least the beginning of answered, right? And figure out where your baseline really is with this team. We've seen a lot of different fronts, a lot of different things coming at the Bears, but we really haven't been able to gauge a baseline because it's like, okay, yeah, but like we're missing half of our guys. Tevin Jenkins has his first game. He has his first game at right guard. Right now, he's got another week under his belt at right guard. Not to say he's going to be perfect, but is he going to show improvement at that position? If he shows improvement at that position, you feel better about Tevin Jenkins being your starting right guard. Is Bourne going to show more improvement at that right tackle? The fact that these guys are working together more than 2 days, what's going to be the relationship between them? Those are all the things that I'm really looking for to see from this Bears team, right? At the end of the day, I don't care if they win. It's the third preseason game. I would like to see them win. I would like to see them, at a minimum, I'd like to see them score some touchdowns here as Justin. I'd like to see Justin be able to continue to move the ball like he has, but also for the Bears to be able to score some touchdowns. But I think at the end of the day, right, the thing you want to focus in on most, coaching and offensive line play. Those are the two biggest things for me when you're talking about this Chicago Bears team. Like the video if you agree, man. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Chicago Bears daily. I see you guys in the comments. Drop some comments and questions. We'll get to those as well. If you guys haven't done so, or if you want to be on the go and listen to the show and you don't want to be staring at your phone, make sure you guys check out the podcast side as well. We've got the podcast up, the Windy City Breeze, on all DSPs, all podcast platforms. So check that out. You also can just watch this back whenever you need to. Here's right again, focusing in on where we want to see improvement most. There's still going to be a question mark even after this game. This team might look okay or it might look awful. The biggest question mark you're still going to have coming out of this game, no matter what happens, is going to be your center position. You don't know what you're going to have. I believe Sam Mustipher is still getting the start at center. Sam Mustipher hasn't shown us very much at the center position. He just hasn't been very good. All right, no Olin Kreutz. We're good. He just hasn't been very good. I'm sorry. Like, don't hurt me, Olin. I love you. You're one of my favorite Bears, but he hasn't been very good. So for me, right, like, there's always going to be that question until we get into the regular season of how does this team look with Lucas Patrick in there? Because I think Lucas Patrick absolutely has the talent that this Bears team needs for a starting center. Sam Mustipher ain't got it to me. I also look at the rest of this line, and it starts with the center, right? And that all works out. That continuity. How's that continuity going to be built up? How's that team going to play better? How's that continuity going to help this offensive line start moving things in the right direction? Those things all play in for me. And so, again, biggest focus for me, of course, the offensive line play. But, again, how these coaches are going to scheme these guys up. And I think really like what system they're going to run, right? Because if you're a legit run-heavy team, you're going to be trying to run the ball pretty much unless the game gets to a point where there's no way you can run the ball anymore. And even in a preseason game, you might still see them trying to run the ball. The question is going to also be on that side. I believe David Montgomery is slated to play in this game, if I'm not mistaken. How's that going to look? How's he going to be? And if not, Khalil Herbert, Treston Ebner, how are those guys going to look? That's your offense. That's the style of play you're going to run. The thing for the coaching side of it, okay, this is what we're running. But when things get tough, are you sticking to what's not working? Are you trying to find something that is working? Are you trying to force a square peg in a round hole? That's the one thing that we saw Matt Nagy do on a consistent basis that we want to move away from. That's the one thing we saw on a consistent basis that we want to move away from.